Hey guys, here we are at Hub. Just dawned on me, this is the last Hub of 2020. Next Thursday night is Christmas Eve. The Thursday after that is New Year's Eve. And then we are into the new year. Man, it's unbelievable how fast and slow this year has gone. How about for you? Do you find that things like that, they go fast, slow? You go, I've been in this for a long time, and yet it's kind of flown by. Well, that's kind of what the year's felt like to me. It's fast and super slow. But this is our last Hub of the year. How many people in your Hub right now, maybe just share with one another, how many people have started coming to Vivid or connected to Vivid during this pandemic? I know it's a lot of people. It might not be reflected in your exact Hub, but for a lot of our Hubs, this was the beginning of relationships being built. And man, I'm so excited at the thought that we're gonna actually be together in places at some time. We're gonna be doing things, and that's gonna be so special. But today, as we round off this year, I just want to discuss really quickly some of the thoughts I shared on Sunday. We talked about that sense of home alone, that feeling of isolation that we've been referencing as being so unprecedented. Well, actually, it's central to the Christmas story that Jesus, he invades our loneliness and brings peace. He invades those isolated places in our lives, and he brings relationship, community, wholeness. It's amazing that the message of Christmas has always been a message to the lonely. Now, maybe right now you're going, I'm at a Hub right now. Why would I be talking about loneliness? I'm connecting with friends and with people. But at certain times in all of our lives, and certainly highlighted in this pandemic, there has been seasons where people just feel like this isolation is taking over. I feel like it's sort of ebbed and flowed. You know, early on, extroverts were going crazy, and introverts were like, I'm right at home. And then as things kind of progressed, it was like extroverts adapted and they figured out ways. They said, I'm still gonna connect in some way, shape, or form. And then I watched this season where it seemed like people who were introverts were almost too private. They're like, man, I haven't seen anyone in a long time. And then it just sort of seems to continue to ebb and flow. Maybe like me, you've got a few great days followed by a day where you go, is this ever gonna end? Maybe if you're like me, you've got, even within the context of one day, some ups and some downs as you try to think about the thought of like resolutions for a new year, saying who knows what it's gonna hold. But no matter what your reason for loneliness, no matter what your reason for isolation, Jesus has come to minister to you at Christmas. In fact, we looked at Elizabeth and Zechariah, who longed for a child, but the Bible says they were blameless yet barren. I think if we just pondered that moment, that thought for a moment, it would be so freeing for us to recognize that it is possible to be doing everything right and still not have things go the way you want them to do. You know, sometimes when things aren't going our way, we assume immediately, I must be doing something wrong. But in the case of Zechariah and Elizabeth, and I'm going to say in the case of your life as well, that there are probably areas that aren't going the way you'd like right now, and that might have nothing to do with you. But into their loneliness, God sends a messenger. And the messenger, Gabriel, says, you're going to have a child. And the Bible says this, that they conceived and they were getting ready to have this baby. And yet, think of what that season of pregnancy was for Elizabeth. Her husband was muted, and she continued to live in some private isolation. Her circumstances didn't really change, but her attitude changed in the midst of it. She says, God has done this for me. Now, the message from Sunday, and the message that I hope we can ponder is this, that God says three things. Fear not. I'm going to do something great in your life that'll bring not only you joy, but others joy. Man, if those three things could be true of us, what an incredible thing we will say as we look back at COVID-19 and we look back at isolation and back at lockdown and back at a Christmas that felt a little bit different. If we could say, God helped me to fear not. He brought peace to my life. God blessed me with joy, and that joy overflowed to affect other people as well. Be a great thought. Now, not only Elizabeth and Zechariah, but it's also to Mary, right? To Mary, who is overwhelmed. And the message from God is this: fear not. I'm going to do something great in your life, and it's going to change the world around you. And then we see the shepherds, same thing, overworked, and the angels come to them and they say, fear not. I'm going to do something great in your life, and it's going to change the world around you. So tonight at our hub, here would be some great things to discuss. Number one, in your life, is there an area right now where you feel overlooked or overwhelmed or overworked? Now, I don't want you to double down on isolation by pretending everything is good. It's so much better to just be honest and be authentic and say, yeah, I felt some of those feelings. Or maybe in this aspect of my life, I can totally relate to that right now. Why don't we take a moment and share with one another? Here's this area of my life right now. I feel so overlooked. I feel like I'm barren. It's not happening the way I want, and yet I don't feel like I'm doing it wrong. Or this area where you feel overwhelmed, like what is on my plate is too much, or overworked, like I'm just exhausted in my isolation. Second thing that I love for us to discuss together is just the aspect of fear. Do you know, in the book of Isaiah, if we could turn there real quick, Isaiah 41 in verse 10, I love this. This simple promise to each one of us. Isaiah 41 in verse 10, this is God speaking, and he says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Could we discuss together, what does fear look like in our lives? How does fear manifest in your life? Maybe it manifests in the way of anxiety. Maybe it manifests in procrastination. You say, I'm just so fearful, I can't do anything, and so you're putting things off. Maybe it manifests in what looks to others like sharpness or anger or frustration. Maybe it manifests in just feeling like a deer caught in the headlights, where you go, I don't know what to do next. But could we discuss, maybe get a little honest, what fear looks like in our lives, and then remind each other that into that, God has said, do not be afraid, I am with you. No matter how isolated you feel right now, and Zoom is just not quite cutting it, but guess what? God's also with you. That's a beautiful thought. And he is not going to leave you, and he is not going to forsake you, but sometimes we just need to remind one another of that. And then lastly, if we could, so we're talking about the things that leave us feeling overlooked, overwhelmed, or overworked. We're also talking about what fear looks like to us, because sometimes someone else responds, and you're like, oh, they seemed fine. But that's actually what fear looks like to them. You're like, oh, they seemed a little stressed. No, they're terrified right now. And God's come to minister to them. But then the last thing I want us to discuss, if we could, and maybe let hope pervade our conversation, is just this thought, that God comes to change our lives and it changes the world around us. Could we begin to speak some hope over 2021? Could we begin to speak some faith and favor over 2021? I have enjoyed and laughed a lot at all the memes. If 2020 were, and you just like the worst, most terrible things. I saw a meme the other day, and someone was going, wait a minute, did we forget the killer hornets? I think we just skipped those. Remember the murder hornets that were coming? It's been a wild year. But can we begin to start to speak hope over 2021? And maybe even if we could dream a little bit, say, here's what I feel God is doing in my life, or in our hub, or in our church, or in my family, or in my business, or in my context. And I'm telling you this, if God's at work, it's not only going to change your life, it'll change the world around you. If God is the one blessing, it's not only so small that it would make your day a little bit better or your business a little more comfortable. He's going to do something in you that actually changes the world around you. So let's begin to speak hope. And there could be someone in your hub who goes, I feel a little bit hopeless right now. Guess what? That's what you're there for, to remind them of the hope that we have in Jesus. The message to the angels is this message that God has come to bring good news that causes great joy for all people. You hear about it at Vivid all the time. We talk about fun, love, truth. Check it out. In that statement, the Christmas message, good news, that's the truth. Great joy, we're talking about fun for all people. That's so inclusive. That's the love message of Christmas. God has brought truth that brings joy, and it's for everyone. So let's speak faith and let's speak hope into one another. And guess what? This Sunday, we're having a live service. So when you're watching, we're going to be in the room. When you're requesting a Christmas carol, I'm going to do my best to sing it. We're going to have some fun, stories for the kids. It's going to be a great family time. And then it's Christmas. I love you guys so much. I'm looking forward to the year ahead of us.